the spirit communication, there are different planes of beings that we are able to communicate with in spirit. Angels are on, they say, one of the highest or the highest planes, meaning that they've never incarnated into any lifetimes or on any planets. There are billions of planets and galaxies and opportunities, many that are like planet Earth, but there are many places out there in the universe in which there are different beings and there's different planets and there's different life. And the angels do not ever take part or take place in any of those incarnations. They stay true to their frequency of spirit, which is like the highest energy frequency closest to source energy. And therefore, all of the information that they deliver is a high level vibration, a high level frequency of information that is designed to be delivered specifically to people from a place of loving guidance. So I always tell people, and there's a reason I'm prefacing tonight with this, because what they have told me they would like to talk about is how people can get in touch, in communication with their own angelic guide and team, as well as improve spirit communication. So there are many different ways in which we can communicate with spirit. There are many different channels of communication, but you will know when you are speaking very specifically to angels, as there is never anything negative, there's never fear, there's never worry, anxiety. They don't ever look at things as, I guess in my human term, I'd say what's going wrong. They always look at what's going right. So they bring in an energy of looking at the upside of life, the positivity of life, and their whole purpose, their whole job is to uplift the planet, to uplift the inhabitants on the planet. There are angels that specifically and purposefully oversee planet Earth and the inhabitants here. And then there are other angelic realms that have other work that they do. So I always like to preface that because when you are communicating with your angels, you're always going to feel lighter. You'll feel happier, more optimistic, more playful. And in fact, a really wonderful way to get in touch with the angels is to be more lighthearted, more playful, have more fun. It's also the best way to magnetize and co-create the things that you would like to experience in your life. So when we are lined up with our highest joy, our highest playfulness, our lightheartedness, that is when we have a receptivity channel to allow the things that the universe has that we've already asked for. It's already answered. It's just waiting at our door and we can allow it and receive it. So this is the energy that the angels bring. And so tonight specifically, I will spend the next 15 or 20 minutes or so delivering specific information from the angels. And then if you have anything you'd like to ask, please go ahead. We can switch channels and do that. But for this time, I will be recording it. So the angels. One thing the angels are really communicating a lot, and they asked if we could get into this tonight, is how do you more line up with the frequency of the angels and the connection of the angels? There's a lot of spirit communication that's coming into the planet at this time. That communication is coming from many different sources of beings. It's coming from galactic origins. It's coming from angelic origins. It's coming from your spiritual guides' origins. It's coming from your soul star origin. And soul star origin is something we don't talk a lot about. Not a lot of people understand or know what that is. And that's something the angels would like to dive into tonight. And then, of course, last but not least, we get a lot of personal communication from our ancestral guides and ancestors that have crossed over, loved ones that have crossed over. And these are different levels of communication. But essentially, when you move over into spirit, depending on your incarnations, there's different energy that you frequent into planet Earth and frequent into people that you're helping to help and oversee. The most important thing that angels would like to convey and communicate to people is that you are never alone. And this is really important to understand, that you always have spiritual guides, you always have soul origins, you always have these beings of energy that are pouring in their resources and their energy invested in how you are doing in this lifetime on this planet. Of course, the first step to angelic communication is to be able to ask for the help of the angels, specifically to come into your life and to communicate with you. So we are going to just take a moment, if you will, mentally. I will do this. You can do this as well mentally. Ask for your angels, your higher guides to come in, to be with you, to communicate through impressions, lights, colors, signs, symbols, feelings, frequencies, anything that it is that they would like you to know tonight, going into the week, and so forth. And it's very important, more than anything, because it puts us into a state of receptivity, to take these small moments to step back and ask for this divine guidance and help. The angels are always there, they're always with you. In order to feel them more clearly, more clairsentiently, which means that we can actually sense and feel the energy of them in our day-to-day life, it is helpful to simply take a moment to breathe. You can close your eyes if you need to, and just ask for the angels to be with you, to come in and to help speed up their information, their communication, in order to help you see, hear, feel, and know that they and your entire angelic team are with you. So, as it is, we will move forward. So, tonight, the angels have a very strong, they're saying there's a planetary shift and a planetary dedication that is happening right now. They're saying a lot of people have been feeling a sense of loss or grief or frustration, or just a lot of emotional feelings, a little more intensity than usual about things in their life. This can show up. You feel pressured. There has to be something that you feel like you have to get done and you have to do it immediately. And just more tension or more high energy feelings that's been happening with people over the last several months. For some people, it's leaving them feeling confused, because even some of the happiest people, the people that would consider themselves like the most grounded or the most spiritual, actually are feeling this tension and this discord within themselves. And it has left a lot of people feeling confused. What the angels want to say about that is anytime that we're going through upgrades as a planet, and upgrades is the ability for those who are willing and able to be tuned into a higher clairsentient frequency. Clairsentient, again, is the ability to feel, that the people that are tuned into that and that are willing and able to do that will actually start to feel physiological changes, sleep changes, immune system changes. You'll feel a lot more heat in your body. You might find yourself waking up in the middle of the night, restless, awake. Not to be alarmed, they say. As always, they want to acknowledge that these feelings are simply your spiritual resonance or your spiritual guides, your spiritual angels, wanting to help you more spiritually connect with who you really are. The angels asked initially for me to begin these live podcasts as a way to help people improve their spirituality or their spiritual connection. They asked me to help people feel a sense of improved emotional resonance throughout their work week, because for a lot of people it's difficult as we kind of transition out of our weekend. If you have a stereotypical week and you move into like the work week or the school week, there's a lot of discord that can often happen from feeling pressured or feeling like you're just back in the bustle of things. And it's really important to remember, and the angels want to remind us to remember, that you are the one that gets to dictate how you feel about your daily life. So, one of the ways that you can improve how you feel is by intentionally taking the time and the moments before you start your day to meditate, pray, if that feels right to you, stretch, do yoga, go for a walk, go outside. Just taking these moments to tune in and get your spiritual vibration or spiritual resonance at a higher level frequency. They're telling me that as humans, we make a lot of excuses why we don't want to do that, why we feel like that's not useful in our time. But they'd like to remind all of us that the most important thing you can ever do for your spiritual health, your emotional health, and your physical health is pay attention to your vibrational frequency and pay attention to where you are resonating or where you in alignment. So if you can put your alignment first, everything else follows that specific pathway throughout the day. Everything will feel lighter, everything will feel easier, everything will feel more divine, more divine timing, more divine light, more divine help, the right people, the right places, the right things, all flooding in, coming to you. It's a really important aspect to remember that you are the one that really creates your reality. And in that creation of your reality, we leave our vibrational essence at a rest when we fall asleep. If you're a person that has had, they're telling me like there's a lot on your mind when you go to sleep. Some people are reading things that feel like scary or disharmonious when they go to sleep, or people are watching socials, listening to things, listening to YouTube, listening, television, streaming, Netflix, things like this. They're telling me it, you leave that energy frequency at a still place when you fall asleep. Because when you fall asleep, you're actually, on some sense, astrally traveling or leaving your consciousness. Therefore, when you wake up, you pick all of the old stuff back up, which is why it's so important to have a healthy pathway of sleep time, is what they're calling it. They're calling it sleep time remedy, like falling asleep in a sleep time remedy to something that feels really good to you, that makes you feel light, aligned, comforted, safe. In doing that, you pick up that vibrational alignment when you wake back up in the morning. One of the reasons they're telling me why they're waking a lot of people up in the middle of the night, and I've experienced this with myself with the angels for years. I personally have been raising a large family of children for many years, 26 years I've been a parent, and I will find mornings are very, like, once everybody's awake, it's like boom, 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 boom. And you may be able to relate to that, whether it's because you have a family or you have, work life or whatever may happen. One of the things that I have experienced for the majority of my life, even since I was a young child, is waking up between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. And this is the time in which you have a heightened ability to have spirit communication. For a lot of people, they do not like being awakened at this time. The angels are telling me they don't like that waking up because they feel like I'm not going to get enough sleep. I'm not going to have enough energy. I'm not going to be able to like do my day. But what they're telling you is if you could take that time and you could actually resonate with something within yourself that would help you feel more spiritually connected, that you would actually be able to improve and increase your spiritual alignment, your spirit communication, and all of the wonderful things that come to you throughout the day. So if everybody is able to at nighttime have a practice in place, a spiritual practice in place to get themselves in alignment, go to sleep, and then wake up in the morning and pick that back up, they actually wouldn't be able to really wake you up in the middle of the night. It wouldn't be a necessity wake up in the middle of the night, because part of the waking up in the middle of the night is getting your attention to say, hey, let's get you in a spiritual alignment or a spiritual vibrational position so that you can be still, so that you can breathe, so that you can tune into the world around you. And in doing that, it actually helps you set things for your day. Now, for most people, we haven't learned how to communicate with our angels or our spirit guides. When we get woke up in the middle of the night, we're just laying there feeling frustrated. Maybe we get up, we get a drink, we go to the bathroom, we do some other things. But what they're telling me is if this is happening to you, or this will be happening to you, that one of the things that you could do for yourself is really just tune in and tap into your angels, to your spiritual communication, and simply ask, is there something you'd like me to know? Is there something you'd like to tell me? Is there something that I can become aware of, something that I need to do to have more spiritual resonance or spiritual alignment? And that will really help with people. The important message here from the angelic realm is that the level of spiritual communication, spirit communication, awareness is increasing significantly on our planet right now. In fact, they're telling me here in the next several months that there's going to be a lot more galactic communication, meaning this is coming in from what we call extraterrestrials, people from other planets, from other galaxies even, that are able to communicate with us here. Earth life is not as many people see it. Earth life has a very long-standing history, billions and trillions of years of history of being a very centered place in the galaxy, out there in the world. There have been many, many different civilizations from different origins that have inhabited our Earth, and some of those remnants still come through our genetic DNA and especially our spiritual DNA. So there's different types of DNA. We are very rooted as humans in the physical, looking at what's happening physically, buying into science physically. But there are higher levels of frequency and things going on, and spiritual DNA is one of those things. So earlier, they're telling me they've mentioned the Soul Star Gateway or your soul star origins. And your soul star origins is actually connected to the people and the planets that you originate from. So if you are a star seed, most people here, and honestly, most people that have spirit communication and show up at my doorstep have star seed origins, meaning that they are already tapped in somehow to this idea that there are other things outside of us that are larger than just like our earth life. But your soul star origin are your spiritual gifts and talents that you specifically brought in this lifetime that are actually helping you fulfill your purpose and your mission on planet Earth. There are two different types of people that we see on planet Earth. Both are equally valuable, both have equal purpose in the world. They have different origins in terms of how they're living their life. The first type are people that are individually focused, meaning their whole purpose on this planet is their individual basis of growth and development, involvement on a soul level. We have all gotten in and out of these roles and these realms in our lifetimes, but there are people who are specifically here to just kind of learn their lessons, develop their gifts, evolve spiritually, evolve on a soul level, and that is wonderful and beautiful. There are also people that are here with very specific soul origin gifts. They're trying to help move the planet in a specific direction. These are people that are very dedicated to other people, to human advocacy, to peace, to health, to wellness, to love, to spirit communication, bringing an energy of uplifting and improving the vibrational frequency and alignment on planet Earth. And for these specific people at this time, there is a lot of internal conflict that is happening where they're feeling a push and pull, like a tug of war within themselves, feeling like there's something greater, but not always being clear of how to do that, how to carry that out, or what to do. The angels are telling me this is very normal. This is very much part of like the spiritual evolution. And what the most important thing to do right now, if you are a healer, a light worker, an intuitive, a practitioner, if you in any way, shape, or form are in a capacity where you feel, including mother, they're telling me, you feel called to help lift other people out of whatever conditions of life that they feel stuck in. Could be poor physical health, poor mental health, could be poor financial health, could be people who are victims, substance abuse, addictions, all different sorts of things. If you are being called in any way to help improve humanity, it's really important to understand that you first must improve yourself because your spiritual resonance, your spiritual vibration is actually what helps translate that healing to other people. It's not to say you have to get to a level of perfection. It's not possible. Where if you're here on planet Earth, regardless of what your soul origins are, which in reality, all soul origins are the same, meaning they're all perfect, whole, and complete. If you are here on planet Earth, you have come out of spiritual perfection and into physical earth life realm. You are able to channel and bring your soul gifts and energy with you. But in order to help yourself help other people, the most important spiritual work comes to help yourself first. And that is extremely important. So things like self-healing, meditation, yoga, angelic work, spiritual work, crystal work, healing work, whatever it is, if there's areas of your life, relationships, health, people, in any way, shape, or form, if there's things within your life that you feel like you need healing, help, there's an imbalance, there's conflict, there's discord, you have to look at creating levels of love, peace, and harmony within that place in your own life in order to fully become in alignment with spirituality, meaning like your heart self, your soul self, in order to help raise other people up. And the things that the angels and many of the galactics actually have been asking right now is that you work on yourself first and trust that the healing of other people will come through that. Because what happens when we collectively come together is we actually elevate the consciousness, the frequency of planet Earth. And as we elevate that frequency, that which is not in alignment with it has to be removed. It either has to lift up to the same level or it has to no longer be in this illusion of the planet. And so it ceases to exist. And of course, this time space reality is not real. This is a delayed event that we see happening, but it is already happening, which is why, if you are a person who looks at social media, who likes to get on the news, who likes to look at world events or current events, and you could look out there in the world and see a lot of things happening, it could feel like from your visual perception that there's a lot of bad things happening. But the angels reassure you that there's never been more wellness streaming into our planet than there is right now. And that the ability for us to look at those things and unequivocally feel the dissonance between where we want things to be spiritually and what we believe is really happening on some level is actually a sign that the spiritual vibration of the planet is lifting. There is a reason that we feel bad when we look at things that feel conflicting or in disharmony, because our spiritual self does not see it. Our human self judges it. Our human self feels a certain way about it. Our spiritual self does not feel that way. The angels do not feel that way. That's why the angels are always telling you to find the silver lining, to look at the beautiful things that are happening on our planet. All of that is illusion. And if we'll take our time space reality away from it, meaning all of us collectively, move away from that time space reality of seeing things happening on this planet as evil, harmful, imbalanced, conflicting, and we will instead adopt a belief and a value that all things are happening in all space and time reality exactly as they should for the people and the souls that are connected to the things. It would immediately begin to dissolve those things that we are looking at, that we have those feelings about. Hopefully that makes sense. The angels like to use a lot of words. I find they use a lot of words indirectly to talk about the things that are happening. And it's because they're very careful about the way the words that they use of frequency. Words carry frequency. So everything we say carries frequency, and they want you to understand that they're looking at things from a loving place. When they look at you, when they look at your life, they look at everything from a loving point of view. They want you to also look at it from a loving point of view. All the things that happen in our life come from a loving place. If we could look at it like that, it will change the evolution of the planet within ourselves, within others in our lives, and within the planet as a whole. So that is a really big part of their message right now. And knowing that this evolution is continually happening, but it's happening at a very high level, a very record speed. And they would like to reassure you that there are many galactic beings, angelic beings, spiritual beings, divine beings that are from other places outside of planet Earth that have an influence on planet Earth, that are co-creatively working incessantly with the people who are receptive on this planet to improve the life, the quality, the spiritual resonance of the people on this planet. You might be called to be one of those people. You might be called to be one of those people already. You might already know that is part of your path or your plan. You might not yet know it, and it might be starting to happen and become activated within you. And so, as we move towards what the angels really wanted to talk about tonight, was how do you improve your spiritual communication with the angelic realm, with galactic realm, with your spiritual guides, with your ancestral guides. All of these origins of spirit help us evolve individually and collectively. They all have different viewpoints. They all, on some level, have a different agenda in how they specifically work with people. But all people outside of humanity on this planet that are helping to channel healing to us here on planet Earth are doing it from a collective space of helping our planet Earth and the people inhabitants on it live their best possible life. Okay, including the beasts of the planet, the animals, the wild animals, domesticated animals, the plants, like everything is energetic, everything has energy, the waters, everything is part of this collective ecosystem that all these outside beings are streaming in this energy to help us. And it's really important to understand that. So, ways you can improve whatever your goal is, your spirit communication. First of all, it's very important to ask for the help because what that does is it recognizes that you're not alone. It recognizes that there's always these beings out here that are trying to, that not are trying to, they're helping you, they're communicating with you, they're giving you signs, they're giving you information. But by being able to recognize that, you actually move yourself into a more receptive state. Cleaning up things in your life, really important. Spiritual alignment vibrates on high level frequencies. One of the things that the angels and spiritual guides told me years and years ago is that the higher the spiritual frequency, the slower the physical plane. The lower the spiritual frequency, the higher the physical plane, meaning that people who have a very scattered energy and it's like bustle, bustle, go, 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 go. Could be cities, it could be a busy person, it could be chaos, hectic energy. That very physical energy is lower in frequency. So when we're busy and we're moving around and we're running around and we're in a lot of noise and a lot of chaos and a lot of things like that are happening, it's actually hampering our spiritual frequency. There's a reason why when we meditate, we improve and increase our spiritual frequency or ability to communicate, hear, and listen, see, feel, all those things, because the stillness within us actually allows us to tap into a higher frequency that allows us to get more spiritual communication. You might live in a city. That's all right. Cities are beautiful places. I love cities. You still need to find a way to have calm space and time, to be out in nature or with plants or flowers, or to create a space within your home where you're able to sit quietly, peacefully, calmly, still your body, still your mind, and receive that higher spiritual communication. There's a reason that people who go on these spiritual retreats go to the high mountains or the caves or the desert or in remote naturescapes, because in the stillness of that is where we become more receptive to hear, see, and feel the spiritual communication that's coming to us. That's really important to note. Of course, you can create that for yourself, but there has to be an active ability for you to do that. Okay. Even I think of like in a yoga class, you're moving your body, you're stretching, you're breathing, you're doing all these things. The highest level of communication usually comes in Shavasana when you've stilled your body and everything's quiet. And then all of a sudden it's like you tune in or you tap into this higher level frequency. And a lot of people will then get a lot of communication from spirit. Everybody gets communication differently. You might see things, you might feel things, you might hear things, you might simply know things. You might get a lot of communication in your dreams. You might need to do automatic writing or channeling of some sort. You have to explore and figure out what really feels right to you. And it can change from time to time, but most people have spiritual pathways of communication or spiritual gifts of communication that if you can continue to hone that, pay attention and listen, it will develop to a higher level, which brings us to the second most important factor that the angels always tell us about being able to receive higher spiritual communication, and that is to acknowledge that you are doing so, that you are receiving things. So, noticing the little signs, noticing things that are happening, the animals you're coming across, the signs, the symbols, the things that are being dropped, the feelings that you have, the more that you can connect the dots between spirit world communicating with you in your physical reality or physical life, even if that connection doesn't feel like it has a meaning right now in this moment, that increases your ability to be in alignment with the spirit communication. For instance, the angels will often tell me to tell my client through my clients, telling me to tell my clients that things they are noticing aren't necessarily always a sign or symbol of something, but more an opportunity to be in alignment. For instance, happens a lot with animals. If this is, I know this has happened to you, if you can think about a time, but the angels will tell us that often people will be thinking something and they'll be worried or they'll be fearful or they'll be ruminating on thoughts, and then an animal will dart out across the road from them. And depending on where you live, could depend on what that animal is. If you live remotely, it could be a fox, a deer, a coyote. If you live more in a city, maybe it's a dog or a bird or a cat or a rabbit or something. It doesn't necessarily always mean that is a specific dedicated message. What it often means is spirits with you. Pay attention, look. It's like a pattern interrupt or disruption. So that can happen. It doesn't always have to have some big spiritual communication message or meaning for you, but oftentimes you will find meaning in that. Spirit will send things in a lot of different ways to you. So, for instance, what they would like you to do is maybe perhaps keep a dream journal or a just a pocket journal that where you could put different symbols, different signs, different things, so things you're dreaming about at night, things that you're seeing along your pathway that you can just keep writing down. Angels will often communicate in threes. So if you're seeing something in threes over the course of whatever it is, it might be an hour, it might be a day, it might be a week, it might be a month, but you're seeing things, you're seeing things, you're seeing things. It's important to look at what that could possibly mean for you and see what meaning you gain out of it. The meaning that it is for you is always the meaning that you derive from it, if that makes sense. One of the things that the angels had me teach in my early intuition classes when I was teaching students to build and develop their intuition is they would have people, when they were giving a reading, they would always tell me to tell people to, if a sign or a symbol or something you see in your mind's eye comes into a reading, ask yourself, what does this mean to me? A lot of psychics or intuitives will ask the person, like, for instance, oh, I see a ship. What does a ship mean to you? Person's like, well, I don't know. Or they'll say something and it's not the right thing. Whoever is getting the message, that's the meaning of it. So for me, I think of a ship of sailing away, going over stormy seas, like adventure, things like that. And so what it means to me is generally the message that spirit's translating to my client that I'm working with, because spiritual communication comes through symbols and translation. When the angels speak with us, they don't speak our language. They translate through the channel, frequency, information, knowledge. They can do that through pictures. They can do that through symbols, through signs, through feelings, through actual words that we're hearing. But that information is being translated into the message that the receiver is translating and then giving. And that's the one thing the angels would like people to work on to improve their spiritual communication, is to start to understand, what do these things mean for you? Luckily we live in today's world where we can Google almost anything. We can Google spiritual meaning of a hawk, spiritual meaning of numbers 333, 111, whatever it is. We can Google those and we can look at them, and we need to learn how to feel what resonates with us in order to get the high level of spiritual communication that they have intended for us. The last thing that they want to give to you that would really help improve people's spiritual communication, actually, is a two-part thing, but it has to do with our nutrition. One is hydration. Hydration is critically important. A lot of people will say, I drink a lot of water. Water does not equate to hydration. It is really important in today's age, especially with our diets. And for spiritual people, you are burning through your minerals faster and your electrolytes faster than most people. To have some type of electrolyte supplement that you are taking daily in water to help improve your electrolyte connection, we actually get most of our messages from the angels and from the spiritual world through hydrogen bonds, through oxygenation. So deep breathing, lots of water, being hydrated, well hydrated will actually help improve our communication skills. And the other thing is by improving your diet. And a lot of the reason why diet improving that helps is because one, it improves your frequency, but also things they often tell us to eat, like more fruits and vegetables, more plants. They contain more vitamins and minerals and electrolytes and water base and nutrients actually help feed our body, which increases our vibrational resonance, our vibrational frequency. And oftentimes people I've have known or worked with or coached or been a teacher to that are working on their intuition will naturally, as they continue to improve their intuition and their frequency, they'll start to gravitate away from things. They'll start to kick old habits. They'll start to not want alcohol anymore. They drink less coffee. They eat less sugar. They get rid of like other kinds of substitutes. Now, something they want me to tell you about sugar, which is funny, as if you tend to be a person who gravitates towards a lot of sugar, that can also, especially chocolate, be a grounding issue. And so, a lot of times when we used to teach classes in angel frequency in person, after people were out there in the ethers communicating with the angels and doing a lot of angel therapy and angel work, they would actually crave chocolate severely. So we'd have like little pure dark chocolate bars that we'd allow them to eat because it brings you back down to earth. So it's not that like all these things are bad for you, but you will find yourself as you elevate your frequency gravitating towards healthier things because in doing that, it continues to improve your frequency and your alignment. They do want me to say, because there must be some people here that really like sugar, that can be a grounding element. And so, while yes, it can ground you temporarily, there are probably other ways in which, if you're a person that tends to be scattered and ungrounded, to look at healing for yourself in order to then improve your quality of life. Because if you spend too much time up there in the ethers and in the spiritual and you're not physically grounded to Mother Earth, you have a disconnect between pulling in things into your life, into your physical reality to experience. And they want you to be able to do that. That's why we came here. We came to planet Earth in order to have physical experiences. So it's awesome to be spiritually connected and in the spiritual ethers and be intuitive and frequenting on all these high levels. But then we also need to be able to come down to earth and pull that into our physical reality so that we can have wealth and abundance and health and happiness and relationships and the house we want and a car that makes us feel good and all the things that, that are important to us to be able to live our life and deliver our gifts from our soul out into the world. So that is all. They're telling me they're like cutting me off. That is all they wanted to communicate specifically tonight. So they want to talk a little bit about those higher realms, about communication, about what's going on the planet, what you might be feeling, and then also some things. They gave us 3 things tonight that you can do to elevate your spirit communication, your angelic communication. And they want me to tell you that it's very important to realize the angels always want you to talk to them. Your angels never leave your side. You always have angelic beings. You always have your spiritual guide, always. Ancestral guides will come and go. Soul guides, who are people that you have a soul connection with, that you're in like a soul pod, they may not all be, they're definitely not all. They don't want me to say maybe. They're not all incarnated in this lifetime with you. They are also helping you. They are not always there. Galactics, for people who are communicating with galactics, the galactic communication is increasing significantly on this planet. In fact, there's not a day that goes by that I don't meet somebody who now channels galactic frequency or galactic or have galactic origins or are working with galactics. They all come and go. Your spiritual guide that was with you before you came to planet Earth, that sat with you to build your blueprint, what you're doing in this lifetime, and your angelic team of guides are with you all of the time. They're always accessible. They're always working on your benefit, on your behalf. They're always working between other energies and entities to advocate for you and for the wellness and for your well-being on this planet. They are always with you. And they want you to be able to communicate with them effectively daily and feel their presence